This is the second video for Math0302 section 1.5. We're going to talk about the rules for adding two numbers. Now what can happen here, if I can have something like this, 3 plus 2, that'll give me 5, or I can do negative 3 plus negative 2, and that'll give me negative 5. Notice that what I have here is I've got a positive 3 plus a positive 2. So I'm adding two same-signed numbers. Same thing here, I have negative 3 and negative 2, so I'm adding two same-signed numbers. When you do that, notice that I'm simply adding the absolute value of the first plus the absolute value of the second, and that'll give me the answer here, and then I just keep the sign of both numbers, in this case positive. Same thing here, absolute value of 3 plus absolute value of negative 3 plus absolute value of negative 2 gives me 3 plus 2, which is 5, and then I just keep the sign that I see, in this case negative, so that'd give me a negative 5. So with the same signs, we add the absolute values of each addend. Then we keep the signs. Excuse me. Now, we can have different signs though. If I took a 3 plus negative 2, that's going to give me 1. Or if I did a negative 3 plus a positive 2, that's going to give me negative 1. Notice that what I'm doing here is I'm simply subtracting the larger from, the smaller from the larger in absolute value terms, and then I'm keeping the larger of the two signs. Same thing down here, the larger of these two in absolute value terms is this one here, so that's 3, and then subtract off the smallest one, which is 2. So 3 minus 2 is 1, and then keep the larger of the two signs, which here is negative. So that's how you do that. With different signs, you subtract. The absolute values of each addend. And then you use the sign of the largest addend. So there you go. That's how we add and subtract two numbers with same signs and different signs. Just remember, same signs add, different signs subtract. Okay, that's generally the way that I'll say things. Or maybe I might say opposite signs subtract. Now let's use this real quick. Okay, practice 2. Letter A, we have negative 5 plus negative 8. Notice that we have negative plus a negative. They're same signs, so we're going to just add them together. In other words, we're going to look at this as the absolute value of 5 plus the absolute value of 8. So 5 plus 8 is 13. And then they're the same sign, so I'm just going to use both signs, or whichever sign we have here, which is negative 13. So negative 5 plus negative 8 is negative 13. Next, let's look at B. Negative 31 plus negative 1. Again, negative and negative being added together, same signs add. So I'm just looking here at 31 plus 1. So 31 plus 1 is 32. And because they're both negative here, this is going to be negative 32. I should really box my answers here. There we go. Now let's look at C. Negative 3 plus 8. Notice that I have a negative plus a positive. They're different signs. Okay, because of that, we're going to actually subtract. The larger of these two is 8, the smaller is 3, so it's 8 minus 3. What is 8 minus 3? 5. Now notice that 8 here is the larger of the two, and it's positive, so this number should also be positive. So negative 3 plus 8 is 5. Let's look at D now. 15 plus negative 18. 15 is positive, 18 is negative, so they're different signs, so we subtract them. So it's the larger 18 minus the smaller 15. 18 minus 15 is 3. And use the sign of the larger number, which here in this case was 18, and it was negative, so we keep negative 3. Next, let's look at E. 12.8 plus negative 3.6. Now, they are of opposite signs, different signs, so positive and negative means we subtract. Now we take the largest minus the smallest, which in this case makes that 12.8 minus 3.6. Remember, whenever you add and subtract decimals, you have to line the decimal up. So 8 minus 6 is 2, 12 minus 3 is 9, and put the decimal there. So that's going to give me 9.2, and then I just look at the sign. The largest here is right here, the 12.8, and it was positive, so this is going to be a positive 9.2. F. Negative 6/11 plus negative 3/11. Notice that they're both negative. What that means is that we're going to add these two together. So we're going to add it as 6/11 plus 3/11, because this is just the absolute value of negative 6/11. Negative 6/11, and this is the absolute value of negative 3/11. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add these together. And notice, because these have the same denominator, we don't have to do anything other than add the numerator. So 6 plus 3 is 9, and you don't add the denominators, you just keep them the same. 11 plus 11 is 11. And then you'd simplify this if you can, but you can't. So the answer here is going to be 9/11, but we have a negative and a negative. Because they're both negative, we have negative 9/11. Make that a little bit more clear that that's negative. Okay, so look at G here. G, we're going to do the same thing. Negative 2/7 plus 3/10. Well, because it's a negative and a positive, they're different signs, so we're going to subtract. Now, the largest of these two might be a little bit difficult to see until you notice that you just need to put them into a common denominator. And a good common denominator here would be 70. So the first one, we're going to multiply the top and bottom by 10 over 10. And the second one we're going to multiply by 7 over 7. So 10 times 20 is, 10 times 2 is 20, and 7 times 10 is 70. 3 times 7 is 21. 10 times 7 is 70. So because of this, we have negative 20 over 7 plus 21 over negative 20 over 70 plus 21 over 70. And again, we're going to subtract here, so we're just going to put the largest, 21 over 70, minus the smallest, 20 over 70. So 21 minus 20 is 1, and you just keep the denominator. So this is going to become 1 over 70. The question becomes, is it positive or negative? So look at the original problem. Which of these two was the largest? Again, it was the 3/10 here, and that's positive, so this is positive. So we have 1/70.